Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome to episode 29 of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I am your host, Floyd Johnson, and with me today I have a special guest. He is the co-host of One Nation Radio on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We got Mr. James Boyd. How you doing, James?
What's going on, man?
Yes, I'm glad to have you on the show because I was on your show a few weeks ago, and James does, I don't really have to put him over because if you're on the Social Suplex Network, you've probably listened to at least one episode of One Nation Radio. But James has this ability to look at things that I see in a completely different way that I never thought about before. And I usually come around to his line of thinking more than, I was like, oh, I didn't see it that way, but that's better than what I thought. So you're going to get, so we're going to talk about the AEW Dynamite review today. And you're going to get two different aspects. You are going to get Mr. Boyd's access from watching it on TV. I was in the building, so you'll get my view. We have not talked about the show at all before, so you're going to get exactly what we thought unfiltered. And like I said, you'll probably see different points of view. So thank you for being on with us today, James.
I'm glad to be here, man. It's funny because you are Mr. AEW man, and I am, for lack of intense purpose, I am Mr. NXT man. So this is kind of funny to I ended up watching on Thursday live. I ended up watching AEW, of course, and ended up having to find a way to watch the NXT. So it's going to be interesting where I was like, yeah, I thought that the wrestling was better on NXT, but as far as a package of a promotion and a show for that can draw towards more people, and it's more than just the actual in-ring work. I thought AEW was a much bigger deal.
Yes, I actually agree to a point with that. Let me get this part out. Just want to start the show by reminding you the episode of All Things Elite brought to you by Powerslam TV. Powerslam TV, where you get access to over 4,000 hours of content from over 110 of your favorite wrestling brands from countries all around the globe onto your laptop and mobile device. If you use the code SOCIALSUPLEX, you get the first month free. But yes, that's what I was going to start with today is our overall thoughts on it. So I got yours. And that's what I would say for me. I kind of agree. I would actually, if I was doing letter grades on a show, I would say NXT was an A. And I actually, even from live in the audience, trying to take out my bias from being in the audience, I would say it was a B+.
Really?
Yeah, I would have said it was a BB+. But and you'll hear this as we go through, I think the BB+ from AEW is sustainable. I don't believe NXT's A is sustainable. They
can't come out there. Yeah, they can't go out there and just wrestle like crazy all the time. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to give you a mini takeover every week. You know, they can't do it. But what you got from AEW, that's their show. Next week's show is going to be similar to that. Next week's show, and that's what you're going to get every week. And if that's their standard, that's an amazing standard. But if you get the whole A and then you get a C show and then you get then you get like, oh my God, that was wild. Then the next week you're disappointed. That's what keeps people from turning back the next week. Because I'd rather have consistently good to great than great and then shitty.
Yeah. And I think, because keep in mind, like, full disclosure, like, I'm not a person that's watching the Road to stuff. I am not a person that's watching Being the Elite. I'm a person that believes that your television or your shows, as far as the wrestling shows, like the pay-per-views or the BR stuff or Fight for the Fallen or Fighter Fest or whatever else, and then Dynamite, like, that's all I'm watching. I don't need the supplemental stuff. If it's good enough, it should be on your TV. And when you saw the promo before Cody and Sammy, like, that's like the stuff they should be doing and putting on your TV. Like, WWE should take notes, like when they do all that great stuff they do on the network on YouTube, and just like leave it and let them, do whatever 24/7 nonsense they want to do. So, I when you said the part about it being so sustainable, like, the thing for me is, I watched the show. It felt like a pay-per-view. I don't know if that's how you felt, or maybe it was just because obviously it was 14,000 people, but like, watched it. It felt like a pay-per-view that so happened to have a couple things in it that lets you know that it was actually TV. But it felt like a big show, but it was it was their TV.
Yeah. The last time, like, I'm like going past All In and stuff that were special occasions, but when it was the Attitude Era, like for me in the 90s, when I would go to a Raw in Oklahoma City, where that was the last time I had a crowd for TV that hot. I mean, the crowd was hot, and I've been to NXT in Full Sail, and it's a very hot crowd, but the energy coming off, they reacted to almost everything on the show. There were a couple of what I would call dead sections, but in general, people were reacting to everything, and it was like, and like the energy I felt was like, I was like hopped up, and I hadn't only slept like 4 hours in 24 hours, but you really could not tell, for that show. I was completely up, and if you actually watched the show, you would see me on it quite a bit.
We saw you right next to the entrance ramp. Yeah, we saw you.
Yes. Let me tell you, when I got that ticket, I thought 1 and 2 was on the other side, so I thought I kind of got a shitty seat. And then I got there, and I did view from the ring, and I saw that it was on the inside, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to be right next to where the wrestlers came out. I didn't know until like 2 days before.
Yeah, man. Like, one of these days, I'm concerned for you, Floyd, because one of these days I feel like you're going to get too caught up in good wrestling, and Cody's going to be down there, and you're going to try to jump that rail, and the security is going to have to rough you up. And man, I get concerned. Like, are you able to contain yourself when you're so caught up in it?
I do get really caught up. I tell people, I was like, I suspend my disbelief when I'm there. I'm suspend my disbelief for 2 hours. And unlike a lot of people, when I'm at a show, I cheer the faces and boo the heels, no matter what. Even if I love the heel, like I love Pac, but if you saw on that screen, I was booing the shit out of him because that's what you're supposed to do. I was talking about this earlier tonight. Fans are such a big part of the wrestling experience, and you kind of want to go along with what the reaction that they want you to go with. You know what I mean? So I'm like booing the shit out of Pac. If anyone ever, or Pac, excuse me, anybody ever talk to me, I love Pac. I love him. I think he's an amazing wrestler. I love his shitty heel gimmick that he's been doing. I love everything about him, but he needs to be booed to be effective. And he was going at it with the guy right next to me, and he jumped at him and stuff. It was so it was so cool. He gets into that character and he stays in it, and I loved it. So yeah. yeah. But yeah, it's
Where do you
crazy.
want to go from here?
Yeah, so we're just gonna do match by match.
Okay.
Yeah, we got our overall thoughts, match by match. First match, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara. Cody's entrance. I don't know if we'll see if you agree or not. His whole presentation makes him look like the biggest star in the company.
Yeah, he is presented as he is the biggest star in the company right now. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh my God, it's just like he comes out there and he's got the whole entrance and he's coming up like almost like some kind of mythical creature, and then he has Brandy next to him, which is objectively one of the most attractive women on the planet. I know women are more than just their looks, but for his gimmick, it adds to his character. You get what I'm saying?
That he has a hot wife?
Yes.
I mean, sure.
No.
I mean, sure.
If you think about the old school way of thinking of a face, guys want to be him, and then women want to be with him. That's the old school area thing. If you're thinking about it that way. Okay. Before, this whole presentation of Cody being with Brandy, how many guys would you said wanted to be Cody?
Wanted to be in WWE?
Yeah.
I mean, it was Cody in WWE. It's dashing, putting on lip gloss and a night routine, and then getting 619 in the face. So his face is deformed. He's wearing a mask, so it's telling people that they're ugly. They're what's ugly. Put a bag on his bag men they're having people dressed like having people put bags on the ground like they're like Saints fans from the Drew Brees era. So like I don't really know, and plus I wasn't watching most of that time. Like I came into wrestling back in like 2011, so most of my what I know about Cody is like he was the after Lexi thing, the past the Dr. Doom stuff, and like he was like a minor nemesis to like babyface Randy Orton in 2000 when like, Orton was giving a shit. He lived down.
Yes.
So. Oh, speaking of Randy Orton, Jesus. But,
he literally lost to Randy Orton in a handicap match at WrestleMania. Randy Orton beat up him and Ted DiBiase Jr.
Yes.
That happened.
Right. But I remember like before I got back and got kind of figured out that like, there is no real upward mobility in WWE, like except for the very, very few, like since part-time stuff, and they don't care about these newer top guys that much. They might make one per year, if that. But back then, like I would see Dolph Ziggler and I was Cody on SmackDown. But like eventually, that looks like a program where they have like their mid-card IC type match on WrestleMania. Ziggler's a heel, Cody's a face. We'll go from there. And I'm saying, like, that's probably like WrestleMania 29. Neither one of those guys ever got a single match. Or, sorry, Cody did. Like, Dolph never got a single match at WrestleMania, ever. So, like, if they start seeing, after years and years of fight, like, oh, this doesn't work like how it used to work back when I was a kid watching. People get elevated from, the mid card up, get chances, a real chance. So, it's a little different, but, so with Cody was like it was somebody I thought had it, right? Not like this. I never thought he was gonna become this, but I thought he was somebody that like had potential. And when he left, I was like, he's been on himself. I hope the best for him because he's always one of those guys I think he had something. And then Ring of Honor, the Impact stuff or whatever else, and then going to New Japan and all that led to this moment. It's like this dude is really blown up in a way that I never imagined. I'm really happy that dude. I still wish he didn't do, the 5% of this match besides to be a heel for like 2 minutes of match in every match. But outside of that, like I think this is like this dude reaches his potential as a star or close to it, and he's firing all cylinders as the guy like the crowd does. Like he's absolutely that guy. Like maybe in the future there could be another younger guy like Jungle Boy or Darby Allin in the crowd vibes like that in years to come. Like that's the down the road stuff. Like right now, it's the moment in time. AEW, like Cody's absolutely that guy.
Yeah, and that's what I was just saying. With that, it's just his presentation from outside of WWE from inside of WWE out, and then you add, and I really did. I'm trying to say this in the most diplomatic way. You have Brandy there, and she is very, very attractive. Just say it like that. So that adds to the whole guys wanting to be him. You know what I mean?
Yes, I can see some of the.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not you personally.
Prospect with a hot white type thing. Yes, I can see that.
Yeah, it's like so it adds to the guys wanting to be him. And that whole presentation, I'm guaranteeing you, she doesn't mind that adding. I mean, she wouldn't come down to the ring, and it's just he just looks like the guy. You know what I mean? That's what I'm like. Everything about it, from the coming up to the ring to having Randy on his arm to coming down the ring, that's his partner or whatever. It adds to this whole epic character. And it's just like, even if I was not a Cody fan and I'm turning in on AEW Wednesday night, I'm like, this is the guy, right? I'm like, this is the guy. This is their guy that's going to eventually be champion. You know what I mean? And and then Sammy Guevara comes out. And Sammy Guevara's got the panda thing on. And I mean, hey, I'll be the first to say, dude's a good-looking dude. He is a very good-looking guy. So he comes out, and he has his music going, and it's just like, but, first time coming in, and you looking at him, I think anyway, if you're a person that has never seen the show, well, Cody's going to beat this guy easily because big presentation. The next one is not as big, that kind of thing. And then they go out and put on the match. So what did you think of the actual in-ring performance?
I thought it was a good match, and I thought the end of the match, or towards the end, was very good. Maybe even great, but I thought for the most part, most of the match was good. The spot with Brandy getting basically used for heat, like that. I thought that definitely added to the match for the crowd. The crowd was furious with Guevara, and it definitely got him heat. I don't know if I don't know if that was the best idea I feel like that's something you should probably use in your back pocket for a bigger thing down the line. But if they want to use that to, get Sammy going as far as like, you should absolutely hate this guy's guts, then look, it worked. So it worked, but I kind of feel like that's a big gun. But whatever. But I thought it was a really good match. And I thought Sammy, aside from the one time where he almost, was out trying to land, doing all the flips and stuff, I thought that that was probably his best performance to date. Probably, maybe there was the baseball or the amplitude. Was that Fight for the Fallen or was that Fight for the
Which one was that?
The one that had the amphitheater. Was that
Jacksonville? Oh yeah, that was Fight for the Fallen.
Fight for the Fallen. He was in that. He was in the 6-man tag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'd probably say it's a better performance even that one.
Yeah, because he was flying around in that match, and I know he caught a lot of people I know in this match. It was great. I like Cody doing a couple things he doesn't normally do. He took the Spanish Fly, that springboard top rope or kind of cutter that he did was smooth as hell. It was a good match. I wasn't going to put a star rating on it, but I put it like 3.5. You know what I mean? It was a really good match. It was a solid TV match. But the biggest thing is that it did what it was supposed to do. It let you know that Sammy Guevara was a star. You got to see him. He got to get all his spots in. And then even when it came to the ring, Cody wins with a roll-up. So it wasn't just like he was a geek that just got, Cody hits his finisher and beat him. He had to roll him up. He kind of escaped with the win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I go as far as saying it was a star-making performance. I would say that it was a great showcasing, and it definitely should be something that should propel him to being solidly in the mid-card after being, a pre-match guy with Kip Sabian on was that Double or Nothing? So I think that definitely, if the idea is get this dude ready and, he's going with the stable they're going to do, or it looks like they're going to do, like have him be established as like the mid-card guy that they can beat and also win from time to time. Like, mission accomplished.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. It set him up for his spot later in the night.
Yeah.
After the match, Cody wins. Tony Schiavone looks like this is going to be a thing. He's going to come out to interview Cody, a la like UFC, interviewing you right in the ring after you win. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So you didn't see this because you were in the crowd, but then when they started the show, they start off with a shot of the announcers to establish that these are the people and these are what their voices look like, which, sometimes WWE does, sometimes they don't, or they'll wait forever to do it. Like, y'all will watch these old, like when the network first started, like the 2014 NXTs, and like they won't show you like Todd Phillips or Byron Saxton until like their hat or a quarter of the way through the show. But they start off and they show Schiavone, and then like you can see that he was. It at one point, like he was almost going to cry. At another point, it looked like he was definitely so happy. It was like there is wrestling back on Turner, and this is a dude that was like doing the fucking studio shows. Sorry, somebody like he was the person that was doing studio shows with Ric Flair in the '80s, right? So that was definitely cool. And then when they brought him after the match, Cody, and like this is Dusty's son, and this is Schiavone together, and they hugged. It was like, I can't believe obviously, all the comparisons to WCW, like, it was cool to see them have that moment where they're coming together. It's like, this isn't the same thing. It's obviously, wrestling just has changed so much over the past 18 years, but like, it's back.
Yes, absolutely. It did look like I said, he held him for a while when he hugged him, and then Tony went in for the interview, and then Sammy kind of interrupted it, and you thought Sammy was about to jump Cody, but he kind of shook his hand, and what I noticed, and maybe it didn't play as well on TV, he kind of held his hand long enough, and you see, and I'm seriously staring at the ring, all I see is a white blur going by me. I mean, he was booking it. White blur, and I was like, what the hell was that? And then I realized it was Jericho, and, I knew what was about to go down. So Jericho starts attacking him, and Sammy, everybody looks like Sammy's about to attack Jericho, and he, Sammy's not a good person. So he just bounces, and Jericho beats on Cody, and he beats on Cody, and he beats on Cody, and he beats on Cody. Like, it felt like this went on, it might just be because I'm a Cody's fan.
No, it went on forever.
It went on forever.
so the beatdown happens, and that was their tease to get you to go through their first commercial break of the show.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Jericho beats him. You see Sammy sort of walk off, kind of like, I ain't got nothing to do with this. And then I think he takes him outside, and then he takes him outside, and then all of a sudden, like, they go to commercial break, and you see a picture-in-picture. Like, you see it in the small screen, kind of like how SmackDown Live, like, the beginning of the show would have, like, matches go through breaks. You see it in the corner. So, no audio, but you see a small picture of him just beating the hell out of Jericho. And out of Cody. And I'm sitting there laughing like, Jericho's just the best. So, he's beating him. And then all of a sudden they come back to commercial break. And I think they come back around the time he sets up the two chairs and he power bombs through the chairs. And then I don't know if the belt shot happened before or after that, but that came back through for the end of the beatdown, and I thought it was a great beatdown. And I was surprised that, or not surprised, but I was wondering if after the belt shot, if Cody was going to gig himself, because I was, blood and guts and all that kind of stuff and all that talk around. And I thought it was smart for them not to, and they such their word, like, we're not doing bleeding or blood on TV. So I appreciate that.
I completely agree with that, and you know what? It felt like, and it's like, just felt like from inside, because Jericho, when he came out, he was getting pops, right? And it felt like he was going to keep beating Cody until he got booed. Right. Because when they finally started turning on him and booing, that's kind of when the beatdown ended. Like, he was going to beat him down until it was uncomfortable, and you couldn't help but boo him. And that's how you draw heat. I love it.
This was like the opposite of what they do with Brock Lesnar, where Brock would beat somebody, walk out the ring, and then come back, and then walk out the ring and come back, and then eventually the crowd's like, well, Like this person that you beamed on, like we ain't 100% behind anyway. So yeah, we may as well like get some, some enjoyment out of the violence that we're seeing. Yeah, go ahead, whoop him for the fourth time, Brock. Like the only time this never really happened is like just this Monday with Ray. That's the people because Ray's universal love. Like Seth, Roman, not the same thing.
Yeah, he beat him until it was uncomfortable, and I it's funny. It's one of those things. I do try, like as big of a Cody fan as I am, and I'm cheering and stuff. I detach myself to certain parts, and I was like, man, this is just it left you like, okay, on its own, this was great. It's building up to Full Gear, but in your mind, you're like, is this going to lead to anything else? Because Jericho has to wrestle later in the night. You know that. So Cody.
Well, I didn't know if maybe that was a quote unquote beat down that took him off. He needed to go to a emergency medical facility.
Yes.
But,
yes.
So I didn't know, but I did immediately think like, oh, this is when Cody gets his heat or gets it back to build, for a video pack or whatever else for Full Gear. Like it's going to add to it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, but I didn't. I didn't expect to see anything more from that part of the feud that night. I thought Cody was gone. You know what I
mean?
Yeah, but I was just like, oh, what is this leading to? Which is what you want wrestling to do, kind of leave you wanting something more. So Cody gets walked back, and the way it is from the screen, as Cody's getting walked back, I'm guessing it's on a commercial, and then you get the Brandon Cutler entrance. Was that on TV or not?
We got Cutler's entrance, and we also got MJF.
Yeah, so Cutler comes out, and he gets a pretty good pop, and then MJF comes out, and he gets on the mic, and that dude's just. I wanted a picture of him, and I think I did finally get one, but I get so lost in what he's saying. It's every heel was like this back in the 80s, but now because he's the only one that kind of does it, it's super special. You know what I mean? So he's like Bobby. He was like Bobby Heenan if he was a full-time wrestler. So
I wouldn't go that far. I think if I wouldn't just completely cut it off and say no way, but like he has a lot of work. Like Bobby Heenan did a lot of stuff to get that level of hate. Like that was well earned. Like that was
absolutely.
Like, Bobby Heenan placed in like the pantheon of like most hated wrestling characters of all time. Like that is like that place earned like Leonardo DiCaprio's like best like that Oscar he finally won from The Revenant. Like this is built up over years and years of you coming so close, you finally reached the pinnacle. Like so I think that's in store for MJF because he's like
he's like Bobby Brain's long lost grandson. He's not quite there. He's not there. Yeah, but you can see it.
When I think of him, I think a lot of like Cornette. If Cornette like wasn't from the South, and like did not
yes,
as fast.
Yes. Oh, I like that one better because when you're with Jim Cornette, even at the merch stands in these small indie places or whatever, don't say the wrong thing. He will cut you down. He will make you feel bad about yourself. You'll feel so bad, then you'll give him $30 for a T-shirt.
That's funny.
It's the craziest thing. Is like he is actively not nice to people, and then they buy his shirt. I'm like, okay, whatever. So MJF comes out, and then he gets in the ring with Cutler, and I'm watching this whole match. I'm like completely into the match because I'm ready for Brandon Cutler's real hope spot. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, in my brain, unfortunately, I'm a person that does podcasts, so we kind of think ahead. I try to stay in the moment, but we think ahead. But I was like, so this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do. And they gave him the dive through the ropes with the punches, but pretty much he got the crap beat out of him the rest of the match.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's appropriate because it was a quick match. It didn't go past 5 minutes, but yeah. I mean, I thought it was appropriate to set MJF up. Like, to be honest, it was the end of the match. The finish was like was kind of. I thought was kind of. I understand what happened. Like, I understand the mechanics what happened. I was kind of confused as to do you think he blew out his knee or hurt himself like when he slipped off the ropes, or do you think that was on purpose, or do you think it was unintentional?
I think it was unintentional. See, the guy right in front of me stood up right when the ending happened. So I actually had to watch it back on the video because I was like, I didn't know what happened. But it looks like he was supposed to do a move and miss, and then MJF was going to put him in the armbar and tap him out. But he went up to do the move. He slipped. He just played it off as his knee went out, and then he put him in the armbar.
Okay, that makes sense because I was confused. All right, so he just like played as if he blew out his knee, and then like after MJF worked over his arm, throughout that whole match, all of a sudden he slaps on the Fujiwara armbar. So I'm like, okay, like if you're a true dick, if one were a true asshole, he puts a lock on his leg, right? Like if that was a work. But either way, like he still got him out of there in a way when it made sense because you worked over that arm over and over and got him out of there. But like I didn't know if there was word on if he was hurt or if it was intentional or what have you. So
you wouldn't have been able to tell from anything on Twitter. He just seemed really happy to be there, and he was like, I was on national TV kind of thing, and it was just like, and everybody's like, what I've seen is like, oh, this was the match that was probably the worst match. I'm like, it was 3 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah, it wasn't intended to be good. Like if you want a 3.5 minute like good match, like you need to go like watch a Stardom high speed match. Outside of that, I really have nothing else to really offer you.
Yeah, but, it was to establish MJF as a rung above Brandon Cutler, and that's what they did.
So on commentary, and I love that this is how they made use of the TV-14. On commentary, Schiavone, after MJF makes that promo, he says, because I believe that they did a one of the Road 2 shows where he had the misfortune of interviewing MJF one time. MJF was being MJF, so of course he was annoyed. So he comes out, and then Schiavone says, I hope that Cutler shuts that little prick up or something to that effect. He called him a prick, and I was like, thank you, TV-14.
Yes. Because you know what you're going to do? You're going to talk like actual humans talk.
Yes. During the match, or right before the match, also, they talked about the Twitter exchange between that dude, man, I can't pronounce his last name.
Joe Manganiello.
Him and about Dungeons and Dragons and how MJF was out here talking spicy about, to the to the geeks, and someone that also negative culture was like, look, I have a better physique than you. Like they also it made me think of I believe it was Fight for the Fallen with Bella, the whole Enzo thing, how Marvez called some of the Earth, talking about how the guy at Blink 82 concerts was like, they're using reality and they're not so much intelligence. And I was like, thank you.
He literally called Enzo the scum of the earth. He said he got in a fight with the scum of the earth. I was like, dang, Alex brought it. And that was like one of the actual funnier things he said. But yeah, MJF put him away. It's one of those things. We were booing because we were supposed to, but MJF is one of the most loved people in AEW. But yeah, I was booing, but I wanted to cheer so much.
There's also a small story in it, and I don't know because we don't know about the slip off the rope, if it was intentional or not, but it is added to make you hate him more. Than like he looked like he could have possibly been put away with a top rope move until he got lucky, and then he put the dude away. Like so that is a little thing. Like we'll see if they pick that up or if that was intentional or not. If it's something that happens down the line with him with other people, but like that was kind of cool for Hill to like luck into a win to get heat.
And the best part I even said is that MJF he even in his promos he's like, I don't care about 5 stars. I just care about the winner's purse. So the fact that he's kind of a boring wrestler is a part of his gimmick. He's like, I don't care if you like what I do every day. I'm just trying to win. And it's I love it. He drives it home in everything that he does. I was like, he's the most in his character wrestler that I've seen in a very long time. Other than I'd say like, I don't even know how many people. I mean, he is very old school where he was on some kind of wake up Champaign, Illinois, and the lady touched his scarf. He's like, "Don't touch me," and like she didn't even know how to react. She didn't know he was gonna do it. It was amazing.
So you think he's more into his character than like Minoru Suzuki?
Ooh, I don't know.
Or Hiroshi Tanahashi?
See,
or Liger, or are we just saying like in North America?
Yeah, I was saying in North
America anyway.
Yeah, it's like in Japan, it's like a whole different world. Like
that's not fair. They too good.
Yeah, I'm like,
too good. We can't use that.
I was like, no, it's like, and AEW might be able eventually to get on that level, but nobody's gonna come up, open the door, and be on New Japan's level.
Yeah, like, I don't think Cody's going to show up like how they have Okada like show up to a baseball game in the full Rainmaker garb throughout the first pitch. I don't think that's going to happen just yet.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's what I was like. I tell people what I was saying, screaming last week is like, you can't compare a 9-month company with a 30-year company. You know, it's like it's just not. That makes sense. So it's like, no, New Japan. Maybe we'll get there eventually. We'll see which way they go. Let's just worry about the second show, that kind of thing.
Can you imagine what New Japan wrestling will look like if it keeps on this trajectory in 30 years? Like, can you imagine being able to just like see what a New Japan, what a Wrestle Kingdom main event will look like 30 years from now? Like, would our brains just explode?
Yes. With the continued evolution of their in-ring work, it's just like they found their niche, which is pure 100% great in-ring work, and they put it on every week, and you either like it or you don't like it. And that's what I'm saying about AEW. They should just put on their show every week. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just put on your show, and people are either going to like it or they're not going to like it. But you can't worry about what anybody else is doing. So, match 3 was Pac versus Hangman, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So match 3, Pac, Hangman. We were supposed to get this match at Double or Nothing in Vegas. It looks like it was some kind of travel visa issues, and
that you want to go with visa?
I
think it's both. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both.
Yes, and and it's funny because if this was going to be the result of the show in Vegas, I don't understand what the political issues would have been. So,
the political issue at the time was that he was a champion in Dragon Gate. Uh-huh. He didn't want to do jobs at all, period. So the thought would have been, all right, well, he's going to fight. He was going to lose to Jericho or Kenny in the title match, that was going to be like, you had Jericho and Kenny match at Double or Nothing, and then you had the Pac and the Pac and the Hangman match, and then like those were both semifinals effectively. So the idea was going to win the first match and the second one, and at that point, he was like, I'm not doing the job right now.
Yeah, which he shouldn't. And you know what? I hope, AEW has a world champion like Chris Jericho. He protects the title. If he ever goes anywhere, he protects the title the same way. I know everybody would love me because I'm in the AEW podcast guy to be like, he should have just did what AEW needed him to do. But no. When you are the champion of a company, you are their flag carrier, and you are responsible for how you look as the champion. So don't go to all these other countries and lose. That's just stupid.
I think it depends on how the fan base, how they think their fan base will react to a loss. Right? So because on one end, I can see for Dragon Gate why that would matter, but like if you're Ring of Honor and your idea is no, we have to have Matt Taven beat Jeff Cobb because Cobb is about to lose in the G1 and go 4-5. I would suggest you put the belt on Jeff Cobb because he's a bigger star. More people want to see him wrestle than Matt fucking Taven. So that's I think it's a case by case type of situation.
I do, but but I do respect Ring of Honor's decision. Whether Ring of Honor, they're dying. They're dying. And was it a bad decision? Yes. But I respect it because ultimately you're trying to put out for whoever your next champion is. Like your champion is Roosh now. You know what I mean? He has the idea that, okay, you're the champion. You're not going to go all of these random independents and lose. You know what I mean? Or we're going to take the title off of you, whether it's good for us or not. I mean, I don't know. I honestly, after letting the Bucks, Kenny, after letting them go, I couldn't tell you what I would have done to make what ROH did over the last year any better.
I mean, I wouldn't have put on that type of show in Madison Square Garden, that's for sure. Or
yeah.
I would not have brought out the Allure. I would not have had Matt Taven win that ladder match. I would have belted up Marty Scurll and then tried to figure out.
That seems to be the consensus. Is Marty Scurll should be your champion right now, and he should have lost on like his last night. You know, he should have lost going out because he was a part of the Elite. He would have still had that fan base coming in.
He's the most over person still to this day in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, he is definitely. Yeah, I don't know why they went. I don't know why they went the way they went. He would have been my champion.
And if you think about it along these terms, they had a story of redemption in him winning at Madison Square Garden after he lost to Dalton Castle in New Orleans at Supercard. I think that was 12, or 7. So it's like he lost WrestleMania weekend in 2018. He's going to go to WrestleMania weekend in 2019, and he gets a second shot at it. Nope, lose twice, both times. And both times were the people that were less over to him. And in the Dalton case, like, Dalton, I mean, obviously they don't know this is hindsight, but like Dalton immediately gets hurt after that. And has a bad back, and he still has a bad back to this day. So it's like, yikes.
So basically you're saying the story was written, they just didn't take it.
Oh, no. Yeah,
it
was everything. It was very much we can have this Daniel Bryan thing after we were WrestleMania. I'm sorry, it's SummerSlam 2013 until we got to WrestleMania, but we had to be dragged. We don't do it over the dragged, kicking, screaming to do it. Right, it was right there.
Okay.
Becky Lynch last summer, same vibe. You have a story in place, you run the opposite way for some weird reason.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't know. They lost so much talent. They lost so much talent at the same time. Like I honestly say I would have never went to an ROH show, and I probably wouldn't have went to that ROH show in New York if it wasn't for Cody and the Elite. I say Cody and the Elite, but it's more like Kenny and the Elite or whatever. But I probably wouldn't have went to the show because it wasn't on my agenda. I always go to TakeOver, but it was like, okay, they sold the tickets, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, okay, so they might leave and go do their own company because I heard that whispers, but they're going to show up for Madison Square Garden, and I had just kind of convinced myself that they were going to be there, even though they said they weren't several times.
I think the thing for me was that it's Madison Square Garden, so I decided to go. And this is obviously with like, well, they might go head-to-head with a TakeOver, but it was like, TakeOver can move. TakeOver has Barclays. Like they can move those dates between the the Hall of Fame, whatever else, if they want to compete, or if they want to actually sell dates to this second show, or to whatever they think is a more important show. And they decided to move because, they already sold tickets before TakeOver already had their tickets on sale. So it was like, all right, you're gonna go to a market. There's already a bunch of tickets sold to this one thing. You don't want to get boxed out and go out there and have an half-empty stadium. So they moved, and we were able to, go to both.
Yeah, that was great. But it was like when I made the decision, it was like Cody and the Bucks sold me on going to Madison Square Garden. I'll tell anybody that. That's who sold me. And then because I didn't know it was going to be a freaking Okada and Jay White in the main event, or that would have sold me.
Oh my god! I thought originally that we were going to get obviously. Some version of Okada. I thought we were going to go Okada versus something. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But whatever. It was still a great. The New Japan part of the show was great.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor. Like you talked about how they lost so much talent. It's like, yes, they lost so much talent. They lost a lot of talent, but that doesn't mean you try to replace Enzo and Cass.
I like Enzo and Cass, but
I like them as a like a less serious new age outlaw, too cool type of thing. Like not I don't but like a mid card, upper mid card tag team. Yeah, but like to be the champions or anything like that. Nah, that's not really what I want to see in my wrestling.
I mean, I get it. But like I said, I've always been a
Enzo's
fan.
an incredible promo. He's an incredible promo.
Yeah,
I would never like ain't no point in line about that. He's an incredible promo, but like I don't want to see them just wrestle.
and I can honestly say, even to me, that someone that likes them, that makes sense. Because they weren't super great in the ring. Now, Enzo, I will tell anybody, I will put his selling up just about against anybody. That dude would make whoever was kicking his ass look like a boss every time when he wrestled. That dude could sell. I mean, his offense was not that great, but his
offense is getting his ass whooped.
Yeah, his offense was getting his ass whooped. And I always, when people would say Enzo's a shit wrestler, I'm like, hold on. Selling's a huge part of wrestling, and he was a very good seller.
Yeah.
So but yeah, his offense was like, eh. So but yeah, so back to the Hangman and Pac match. In ring performance. What'd you think?
I thought it was a good match that was just slow. And why it was slow, I don't know.
But is that how Pac works now, or Pac works now? I don't know. I didn't see him in his Japan stuff. I watch New Japan in Japan. That's it.
Okay, so I don't watch Dragon Gate, so I can't really tell you. But like when he was doing the heel stuff as the king of the cruiserweights or whatever in WWE, he still wrestled faster than this, and he's in WWE, and all the dudes wrestle slow. So, for me, I was surprised that he was working at that kind of pace. I thought they would have worked a little faster. There would have been and there was no real like huge exchange with but even though they wasn't like a huge on the exchange type stuff, whatever else, or huge reverse covering each other. Reversing each other up, that sort of stuff, countering stuff. They still were very crisp with their offense. It just felt like there was something missing, and the only thing I could really think of was it was just pace. It was just kind of a beat slower than you would expect.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. It was because when they were entrance, Hangman popped like crazy.
Yeah, cowboy
shit. Cowboy shit. And the beginning of the match was hot, and it felt like there was like a 10-minute lull there. And it just like I wouldn't say the crowd wasn't into it, but it was like they were waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, I think maybe they were sitting on their hands expecting like they were waiting for like the great match, and it wasn't a great match. It was just a good match.
Yeah, and I even said I was like that was pre-show. I said that was going to be my match of the night, and that wasn't. And then we had the ref got tied up with Pac, and he hits Hangman with a nut shot. Then he hits him with a black arrow. Is from what I understand they're going to call it. And then what's the submission called?
Oh, it's a Rings of Saturn type thing.
Yeah. And then he didn't tap. He was already out from the black arrow, and and it just the submission was pretty much
I think it's a cool finishing sequence where it goes to like I hit you with the red arrow deal to your back, and then I give you the Rings of Saturn. Like I thought that was cool.
Yeah, but it was like you could have just pinned him because the referee.
Well, he's a bastard, so he wants to torture you.
Yes, the bastard Pac. That is true. That adds to his gimmick. And then of course, Earl. Earl Hebner called this match. Who my wife
talk about Earl.
My wife sent me a message, and I think this is for me. This is all I have to say. She's like, poor old man. He can barely get up and down. That was the message from my wife.
That's where we're getting. That's what I was getting at. Like
It's like, don't do pinfalls because Earl has to get down there.
Only submission matches.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that could be an issue, and I mean, you can kind of see where he's sliding on these shows now, where it's like he's not the elite announcer. He's probably a third person. So they have him there because of the name recognition, but and the nostalgia of the fact that a lot of shows he was like the rep. So, but he just can't move like he needs to, or like he used to anyway.
Yeah, and it's just like I would do a thing with him. He would be the head of officials. So, like, if a controversial ending happens or something, you would then send Earl Hebner out and he would help the guy, kind of thing, instead of him actually calling a match. I'm not trying to tell a man he should retire when you want to, but, if, my wife, who is not a hardcore wrestling fan, and it took away from her experience.
Gotcha.
Just imagine, casual, other fans. It's going to take away from their experience. Like she said, she wasn't paying attention to the match because she was paying attention to him.
Now, I think it is a funny visual to think of him now. Is like, okay, you think of when you watch the Fox broadcast NFL games, you have Mike Pereira, and then you watch NBA games, or think ESPN NBA games, you have Steve Javie. Whenever there's a disputable like replay call or whatever else, and they go to the booth in the studio and they ask for their opinions. Like that could be nice use of him, but I don't know if a lot of people actually want that in their wrestling. So
they might not. Like when he did his nut shot, and you'd have Ebner on the line. So, Earl, what would you do to this? Like, he's like, when you're wrestling and person grabs you and they put you in a position, you can't see it, you can't call it. He would add to the kayfabe if you wanted to go that far.
I wasn't thinking in those terms. I was thinking more or less like, okay, if you're not going to do I own the company, I'm the chairman authority figure. Yeah. Right. Like a way to get around someone to basically like reverse a call or demand that it's going to be a rematch, something like that. Like you basically like that's your way around it, to have some type of authority figure that can kind of right wrongs whenever the fans can be ripped. Or maybe this is going to be promotion where like we're not really going to be doing that sort of stuff that often, to where that's not necessarily necessary. And if that's the case, God bless you, because I don't really want to see that shit anymore. Like I love Regal, and I think Regal keeps it down. It does the job very well, and they use him very seldomly like they should, but like even that job is unnecessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, New Japan does it without anything. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the championship committee, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to, as Paul Heyman says, you don't need to know how the food is cooked. Just serve me what you want. I don't need to know how. So that makes sense. But yeah, I thought it was a good match, but it's like, my expectations were way too high. I was expecting more, but I couldn't tell you. And you said it. You gave me my answer because it was paced very slowly, and it didn't feel like there was a time for the crowd to really get into the match.
I think they were into it. But it was more.
No, but
I think they were more sitting in their hands expecting more, and they just didn't get more because that's the match they were going for.
Yeah, we're about to talk about the next match, and that's what I was talking about. But when they were getting into a match, you could tell the difference. And on the next match, did they do? I don't remember how it was formatted. Did they do the little tag team interview at this point?
Oh, with the SCU stuff.
Yeah,
we saw all of it. Yeah. Saw the him doing the Obama impersonation, and then him coming out, Scorpio Sky coming out and saying like, nah, you old guys, you guys go in this tag tournament. I'm gonna go single for you boys. But like that's we saw.
Yeah, and of course Scorpio has always, from what I've heard from Cody and Brandy, they see Scorpio as the future. And it's funny because he's like 17 years into his career. Oh, you're the future. Like, dude, this dude's 35. Future needs to be now. So,
he don't look 30.
He doesn't. I mean, black don't crack, bro.
Yeah.
No. When I saw him, I thought he was like 20. I thought he was like 27, 28. I don't know the past history of Scorpio. I first heard of him when he was a part of SCU. I didn't know him before then. And he was like, oh, yeah, he's been wrestling since at the beginning with everyone. And I'm like, what? That dude looks 10 years younger than everyone else.
What really got me when I never even saw SCU. Like, full disclosure, like I never watched Ring of Honor seriously until really not. I don't want to watch it to this day, but like as far as like knowing any of the characters of the wrestlers or anything like that, like I did not do that until like the Elite or Cody really, and then Supercard in New Orleans because of Cody versus Kenny, and then we get All In. And then they come out for the pre-show, and I see this dude come out and say, Chicago, this is the worst I've ever been in. And I was like, wait, what? What? Why did the crowd pump for that? So when I found out that dude, that Scorpio Sky, was actually the dude that played Harold in the Daniel Bryan and Kane anger management stuff, I was like, that dude's been around for a while. I had no idea this existed, and like, how come WWE didn't sign this dude? And now we're here, and it's like, if they move him into a single spot, like, I think I really do, because he's already like that's for half the battle.
Yeah. Like I said, it was like my first match with ROH was Cody's first match with ROH. He wrestled Jay Lethal. That wasn't like my first match ever, but I had been away for a long time. And, when Cody came back against Jay Lethal. And then my last match that I watched in ROH was Cody when he wrestled Jay Lethal for the world title. I came with Cody and I left with him. So that kind of thing.
You petty.
I did. I was like, I came with him and I left with him. And like I went to the ROH G1 show because I had paid for my ticket already. So I was like, hey, I already bought a ticket, so I'm going to go to the show. But other than that, me and ROH, we were breaking up already. So, but I discovered the SCU thing, Kazarian and Daniels, and it always popped. And the first thing I thought was like, when they got to AEW, I'm like, this is AEW's New Age Outlaws, because if you want to put them at the beginning of the show and pop the crowd, you can. If you want to put them in the middle of the show and pop the crowd, because the whole entrance, every part of it is just over. So
yeah, I think Rich made a point one time. I thought it was a good point. Was that like, I don't know if he was serious or he was halfway joking when he mentioned something along the lines of saying like, SCU should be in the opening match of every single Ring of Honor, or not Ring of Honor, but AEW pay-per-view, like, until they can't do it anymore. And I was like, you know what, that's a good point. Like, they come out, they get the easy stuff, they have an easy match, the crowd loves them, and they can just go back and forth with whoever else the wrestler, whether it's the Strong Hearts or it's, was it Private Party last time. Like, yeah, like, it definitely makes sense. Or even it was the Lucha Bros that they did the stuff with. Like, I think that, yeah, that's definitely something they can do, because they have so much goodwill that like they can just be a gateway for a lot of acts that are kind of need to get to a certain spot or need to kind of get a spotlight shown on them. Like, they're perfect people to do that with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they are the perfect people to do that with. They pump the crowd up. The crowd loves them. They can lose, and it doesn't matter at all. They can lose on them, lose, and right after the match go SCU, and everybody's jumping right back happy again. They're that team that it's almost could be to their detriment that literally they can lose every time and no one cares.
I think at this point it's appropriate to mention, like, Daniels killed me every time he comes out with those goggles on. It's like, what are you doing?
Yes. And then the mic not connected to anything. That is
yes. He just full on Freddie Mercury.
Yes, it's awesome. So we get this. They say they're the best tag team. Lucha Bros don't like what anybody says they're the best tag team, and then they fight. And I don't know how I came off on TV. I was too close So it's like I do my suspension to disbelief, but when you're so close and you see them like
It was a lame
literally,
fight.
yes, it
It
was like
was a lame fight.
I was gonna
Like
say.
there was a point where like Kazarian is getting held back by literally nobody, and he doesn't move or do anything, and it's like it's clean.
Yeah, I'm like,
It was a lame fight.
Yeah, I was like, I'm watching it, and they're literally swinging at half speed, and it's like normally I can't see it. You know, like I said, I go into my suspension of disbelief mode. But when you're that close, it's like, oh my god, no, like no, don't do this. I was hoping it played better on TV. It did not.
It did not.
It did not.
It did not. Another part about it was the guy that got me just kind of thinking out more, or look, my eyes being drawn to other things is like the Lucha Bros came out, and they came out with those jackets on, and none of those jackets like looked like they were tailored to fit well, like they were like ill fitting. They were like chopper jackets, chopper suits, like chopper jackets. So it's like, man, they just got that from like they just got back from, I don't know where they got those from, but like they need to take those back. So you threw it on there. I was like, okay, but eventually got a match. I don't know if it's foreshadowing or this is going to be the final. You think that's what it was?
Yeah, I was like, I had my head on what the finals would be. Mm-hmm. So I had my head on what the finals would be, and that was not it. But it kind of leads me to believe either it's going to be the finals or they're going to cause each other to lose to where they have a big match.
I mean, because this is just the first time that they've had some type of back and forth. Like they had a back and forth that
when they brought out the ladders, they won and brought out the ladders, and they said, SCU cuts a promo, we respect you, but now we used to respect you, but now we don't. So it looks like it's building to something that's going to be a tag feud outside of the tournament.
Or, I mean, if that's the final, they have all that stuff to go on. And look, I know, I think the main thing is people just are like, of course the Young Bucks are going to be the first champion, but it's like, if it's anybody but the Young Bucks, then the Lucha Bros would make incredible first tag team champs. Like, they're one of the best tag teams in the world. Yeah. So, like, for me, like, if you ask me who I want to see the tag team champions first ones, me is Lucha Bros. And it's like, look, Young Bucks, you can put yourself over anytime you want to. Like, kick it down the road, make yourselves chase it. These are baby faces, please.
Yeah, they're the first match next week with Private Party. And I'm like, man, could we see a Private Party upset? Which would be interesting. And it's perfectly based on the ending of this show, which we'll get to. I mean, you could perfectly build that they're not 100% going into next week.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so they caught this beat down. But the next match we got the women's title, Rio versus Nyla Rose, and it's funny. I'm going to tell you, I probably enjoyed this match the most, but I also had some of the problems with this match, and just being 100% honest. I really enjoyed the match, but, there were some problems. So let's talk about it. What did you think of the in-ring work, sir?
I thought it was slop. I thought it was... Okay, so I had not watched any Nyla Rose before her appearances at AEW. I have not seen any of her previous work, but I listened to Wrestling Omakase over on Voice of Wrestling, specifically their stuff involving Joshi-related stuff. They were a good reference for me to try to learn stuff about Stardom and its history, and they also did a year-in review. In their year-in review for 2018 for Joshi, they said, like, as far as top gaijins, that Nyla Rose was maybe the best gaijin last year. Which is high praise because that's Brie Priestley, that's Toni Storm whenever she does her tours when she's not doing NXT UK stuff. That's Piper, Viper, all that stuff. So you see the highlights that she has of her doing all types of flippy type stuff, or some flippy type stuff. You see her size, and then you watch her matches, and I feel like we have a future great wrestler, but right now we only have somebody that is good at certain things, mostly high spots, but someone that's not there completely as far as the more mundane stuff in the wrestling ring. And I kind of feel that from this match. I also felt that from the triple threat match that those two had, also with Yuka Sakazaki involved, where there are certain points where it just wasn't really working that well until all of a sudden there's a big spot, and then like the end of the match is great. I don't know how they're able to make the end of the match is great, but the first third and the middle third is kind of just there, or it's kind of not on point the way it should be. I don't know. Maybe it's the game to where it's like I can't really get myself to that point.
All right, so James, you kind of cutting out there, so I'm just gonna fill in. He was like the first to middle part of the match is kind of slow, and he was thinking the last part was kind of great. James, you there now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, yes. Talk one more time, so I can just make sure it's there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're clear now. You had started fading out there, so I just wanted to make everybody know what you were saying.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if I went on a huge. I went on a huge still basically saying like I've heard a bunch of good things about Nyla Rose, but I never saw it except for the AEW stuff. And the AEW stuff, like she's really good at certain things, especially like high spots. But like a lot of the other stuff, she's kind of like feels like she's kind of like not as aggressive as she should be, or is kind of hesitant. And I don't know why, because like once these matches start hitting, like she's very good. So I don't know what it is, but she has kind of uneven performances so far in AEW. But I mean, the crowd, the end of her matches are really good. So it's like, these are feels like nitpicking.
Yeah. So it's like the way I see it, I watch her and I like her. And I like I've met her. She's awesome. I want to say that's all outside. But when I see her in the ring, it's just a lot of it. I don't mind everything not looking clean and beautiful. I think that adds to the realness of wrestling. You know what I mean? I like it to look. But sometimes the sloppiness that's there kind of takes me out of the match.
I'm with you.
So at the beginning of this match, it was just like, it was a couple missed things that was just like, it was like, okay, where it was like almost like waiting on, like if it went off the way it was supposed to go off, it seems like it would have been much more impactful, but shit happens, and like she comes off as green.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm only talking about her performance. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. I care about her performance, and then she just comes off as green. So I take that and I think, you know what, maybe I'm being overly critical. My wife, I always say this, my wife, she'll watch wrestling with me. She was watching the show because I was there, right? She sends me the message, Nyla Rose is not a very good wrestler, is she? This is novice eyes, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that you're trying to get to watch your show. She was a really big fan in the Attitude Era. And she started kind of paying more attention because, we dated and, got married. But she doesn't watch wrestling when I'm not here. So she turns on the wrestling and she messages me in the middle of the match. Nyla Rose is not a very good wrestler, is she? I'm just, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, but.
I wouldn't say that she is a very good wrestler either. I would say that she's good at certain things, but she's not good at others. And some of the things she's not good at, I would say that the things that she's good at are things that I care more about as a person that's trying to see really good matches. So I think this stuff that she can improve, right? Like, like being or having the gumption or or being able to build towards that spot where she does the flip onto the table, or not the tables, but the chairs. Like, there are a lot of wrestlers just ain't gonna do that. Yeah. She's not, like, she has a willingness, a want to have a good match, and like that's for me, like that's half the battle. So like I feel like we talk about like people like Mark Henry, like the Hall of Pain. We talk about like the Miz 2016, like. if you get enough reps and you give a damn, you eventually will get good enough to figure out a match that will work for you. Braun Strowman, another example, right? Like, you will figure out how to make stuff work for you. Like, she already has enough of that figured out to where, like, I'm not really concerned. But, like, right now, she's just not as good as someone like Riho yet. And I'm not even necessarily saying that Riho is, like, the greatest women's wrestler in the world either. But she has room for improvement, and I think she'll get.
Yeah, and you know what? And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? It's just like acknowledging someone can get better. You know what I mean? Everybody can get better. And I thought she did really well in this match. And it's like, to me, I am from the Cody school of logic. I love a good 5-star match. But if the crowd's into it, it was a good match. And the last half, the finishing stretch, however you want to define it on this match, the crowd reacted to everything. Yeah. They didn't want Rio to win. They needed Rio to win. And that is your job as a heel.
Yeah, I think that we're at a point where, like, the wrestling around the world is so good and there's so much of it that, like, it's kind of like, there is a feeling of 4 stars to get the fuck out. And I believe that, like, it's okay to have a 3.5-star match. It's okay. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So, like, if you asked me for my rating on the match, like, I would have gave that 3.5, and I would have called it a day. So it's like, that's not like a 3.5-star match on TV. Like, you get, if you watch other wrestling products around the world, like, for their TV, their weekly episodic television, wink, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, like, you might get 1 or 2 of those a show if you're lucky. So I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, they stole the show because there was no match that anybody was hotter for than this match. Like I said, it was like, I forgot what move it was. I think Nyla, she never got her powerbomb off, but she hit a big move. And Rio kicked out, and the whole side where the camera was jumped up at the same.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like a DVD.
Yeah, and it was like she hit the big move, and everybody jumped up because they needed Rio to win this match. A person that a lot of people didn't go into the match knowing who the hell she was. You know what I mean? So,
because I mean, I'm sure you're right about that, but she's been on every single one of these shows, right?
But yeah,
or maybe just one.
Yeah, but let's say there's 14,000. I'd say about 8,000 were the hardcores. Gotcha. Like the people in front of me, like the whole row in front of me, they said they bought their tickets on the way to the event, and they were literally asking me who people were.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was just an easy. I think it's just an easy story.
Yeah.
So where, it's David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's always going to translate. You're always you're always hoping for that underdog to come through. And like, I think, Hogan, for example, just kind of like threw it all off where like he was really sort of one of the first gigantic baby faces that, was bigger than their opponents. And he just had to be so charismatic that like it worked. But like, there's a long history of smaller, or not small, but like heels being bigger than baby faces, and they outwork them through just, sheer will, tenacity and skill. Yeah. So in this situation, like, I thought they had a good story in place where, they do the deal where Rio almost gets her over with like a back body drop to collapse underneath the weight, and then eventually it leads to she's actually able to get her off the top rope with I think it was a Northern Lights suplex or fisherman suplex off the middle of the rope, like for a near fall, a great near fall. So I think it was all there. It's just not just sloppy spots.
Yeah, and it was like I said, Rio hits the double. Was it a meteor or like almost like a Kinshasa? I don't know.
Okay, Michael, they're just running double knees.
Was it running double knees? Okay.
Yeah.
She hit it, and she pins Nyla, and I love, and this is one of those things I've always loved, when the referee hits the 3 and then you kick out, like you barely got the person. That is so lost in wrestling these days to me. It's like, I almost think like any long-term champion, anybody that's been a champion for a year, that's almost how they should lose. And of course, you don't want to overuse it, but the fact that it went 3 and then Nyla kicks out, and I'm like, oh, she barely got her, and it added to the emotion of the match. And Rio won, and Michael Nakazawa was coming in to present the belt. Nyla attacks Nyla attacks Rio, and then she Michael Nakazawa picks a power bomb, and it's like, this is supposed to be like a simple, power move, and she stutters on the first one and almost drops him, and it's like, I get it, wrestling's hard. Don't believe me, I'm not telling anybody I can do it, but I'm the person watching it. You know what I mean? And if it takes you out, it's like, okay, so yeah, it's like she hits that the first time clean. It's like Nyla comes off as this monster and powerful, but then she drops him, then picks him up and hits him, and it still looks cool. But it's like if you're watching a dunk contest and someone misses the first 2 dunks, and then they finally get on the third dunk. Okay, it was impressive, but it took you 3 times to do it, Right. Yeah, so I was like, it was impressive.
Look, all the dunk every other year there's a dunk contest that we're just like that. The dunk contest is a dead concept. And why? It's because a bunch of dudes having to, do the dunk they're trying to do on the 5th try. So you're right. I get you.
Yeah, so it's like, it was cool, but it wasn't as cool as it could have been. And then Kenny comes out and, stops Nyla from messing with Rio, which is like, I heard a lot of people speculating, so are we going to get Kenny and Nyla now? And I'm like, dude, just because people have a face-to-face off at some point doesn't mean they're going to wrestle.
Well, I thought that maybe could have happened.
I mean, it maybe could happen. Tony Khan's been very open about he doesn't plan on intergender wrestling to happen. So
I just don't get why they even did all of that after you just crown your first champion and you need to beat her down, and then have her saved. It's like, okay, so she's the first women's champion, so what we do? Let's immediately make her damsel in distress, and Kenny has to.
Yeah, my whole thing was like, I really thought that, and I know WWE, like the SmackDown was this week and they were bringing in all their legends, but I was like, why not have Medusa or some, legends of women's wrestling present the title? You know what I mean?
Well, Medusa was in Full Sail. That's why.
Exactly. They were all on the payroll. They couldn't get anybody, and I was just like, why couldn't we just have it present the title and then Nyla leave and just be about the champion at that point? But right. I guess Nyla is one of those people that fans have been rooting for lately, and I think they wanted to drive home the fact that going forward she's a heel.
I mean, yeah, that's the way to look at it, and I can see the logic behind that. But
I think we both wanted the same thing. I just wanted to give her the belt. She celebrates. Nyla goes to the back. And if you're going to do something later, then great. But let the champion be about being the champion, because Jericho won his title. He got to walk back and celebrate. Why didn't Rio get that same thing? I'm not saying everything has to be equal or whatever, but I'm just saying she should have had her moment.
Right. And I think the thing is, like, for me, it's, I didn't care who won, whether it was Nyla or it was Riho.
Yes.
But it's your first champion. Like, could your first champion walk out tall?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's really all it came down to. Like, if you want to establish Nyla as a heel, cool. You know what would really help establish her as a heel? Her being her immersively and beating her.
Yeah.
Could have done that too.
Yeah.
I feel like this is unnecessarily like splitting the baby. Like, they wanted Nyla to be established as now a bad person, and they also wanted Rio to win. It's like, you could have just showed either or, and I think that would be more effective going either route.
Yeah, I do. I was actually rooting for Nyla, so when Rio won, I was like, oh, the kind of air let out of me. But it was like, I was like, okay, this is sports based. That's all they said, a sports like presentation. I figured, champion walks out the ring, the champion. But hey, it's probably leading to somewhere else, and I am with this company. I'm like, hey, I'm going to give it time to establish itself. I'm not going to be like jumping and rabble off of everything that I might have done differently because I don't know what it's leading to. So, but yeah, Rio's champion. Great thing about it, she's so small. She's always going to be the underdog in her matches, so she'll be a very beatable champion. How did Britt Baker do on commentary if you even paid attention to her?
She was kind of just there. There was one character, or not character like, but like a storyline or mini story that they have for her was that they mentioned how she was a dentist or how she had to go 8 years for her to get her degrees to become a dentist, and then one of them, I think it may have been Ross, may have mentioned like, so that means that like you're persistent. This isn't short your drive isn't like easily thrown off. Like you were determined and like you're willing to more or less say like you're willing to chase, right, for your goal, which is more like nudge her wing. She took her 8 years to get a degree. And then she mentioned on lines like, yeah, but hopefully it's not as long as 8 years, to eventually become a champion. So, but aside from that, she's more or less just there for the ride. I mean, yeah, she was there for the ride. People were killing her, talking about how she was so, how she was barely there. But I'd rather you be barely there than like bad. So I kind of figured she's there, so that's fine.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, of course I didn't hear her. I mean, she came out and she is presented as a star, definitely. I think when it comes to the women, she's probably presented the best as a star. So we want to see where that goes from there. And like I said, Rio is so small that like you can put her in matches against anybody, and she's gonna always be the underdog. So she's always gonna have that good story, which is cool. You are our Social Suplex is kind of resident Joshi expert.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Yeah. So no.
Let's do it.
No. I just want to say. I literally want to like when the few Joshi messages I've watched, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm a novice at best.
Mm-hmm.
And like so, when they're hitting each other, they make a lot more noise.
Oh, you're screaming their heads off, like they're screaming their heads off. Yeah.
Why don't they seem to do that in AEW? Do you know if is it like a production thing or what? Because I think it adds to Joshi matches.
Oh yeah, like I mean, like outside of me personally, this year like I picked up Stardom and like it's one of my better wrestling experiences of my life. And their big matches are like so emotional and it's a visceral reaction because you see these women like these women are like, how you feel like in a big New Japan match, how you feel like let's say it's Ishii or it was Kenny when he's fighting against Okada, and it felt like this person is willing to. It almost feels like they're almost willing to die to win. There's the level of desperation to win and not be put away, to survive and live on and continue the fight at a time when like. It's that plus like with the screaming added, like it feels you get that same exact feeling in these matches, right? So like you mentioned earlier about how there was a great 3 count about kicking out at 3 basically, and then the match continues. The best near fall I've seen this year was the Stardom where it was Hazuki versus Arisa Hoshiki. It was from I think it was a Hurricane Hall show. I want to say July. I think it's July. So match done. They didn't kick at 3. They kicked it like 3.1. But anyway, like they and I was furious because personally I wanted to do desperately and not winning. But just as far as like that desperation, it's like just yelling and screaming, like you feel like every single motion at the time. And you're right, like that definitely does add to it. And I thought the first set match I had Ishii Kong and Rio Minami, like and Hiroshita and Emi Sakura. I thought that match had some of that, but it wasn't that same level. And a lot of that match was, typical or kind of in and out stuff, kind of like exhibition more than actual like personal, interpersonal type of thing. So maybe that's the reason why they didn't go go, take it to that level. But
Yeah.
in the future, I think that's what they should go. I think the crowd would definitely, Dylan. I mean, they're so open to this crowd, so open to almost anything that the AEW talents do. That
Yeah.
I think that's something we need to, but I don't think. I mean, aside from the Riho and the qualifying match, Riho and Karoshita, that's really like the only place I felt
Like the one-on-one.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I think that's kind of. I think they should probably say that's a one if they do it, but like that's the one time I can point to where like there was opportunity to really do that and it really didn't happen.
Okay.
It kind
Okay. Like I said, I just wanted to know your thoughts on it because a lot, Joshi, bringing Joshi representation to America is very much Kenny's action plan for the women's division. So that's what he wants to do, and I'm like, what I've seen, I've liked every time. It kind of felt toned down when I saw it in AEW, and I'm like, dude, I need you to turn that volume all the way up because
it is kind of
because that's how I got in. Like even the matches I've seen, I didn't even know who the good guy and the bad person was turning on the match, but by the end, I had a person I was rooting for because it brings you in. So I was like, I didn't get that same kind of brought in, but in this Rio Nyla match, that last 10 minutes. Man, every move people were hanging on, and I was so impressed. I was like, that's why, like, when I was being critical about Nyla, I was like, I felt bad because the match did what it was supposed to do.
Right, it definitely got there emotionally. And I mean, I think it definitely helps because of that story they had because of the size disparity. But and another thing, Jim Ross, whenever Riho's on there, or Riho or Yuka or someone that's small, a small woman is in there, he bangs on the size disparity. And then when Nyla's in there, or Asia Kong, it's a big woman. Like, chill, Jim. Like pretty much anything else that Jim does during these AEW broadcasts, I really haven't much of a problem except for like just banging over and over and over on people's head, like the size disparity. Like, we get it. We know that's a story. Let it breathe. Like, we see the differences. Like, just go from there. Like, it's cool to mention it one time, but we don't need 5 times in the span of 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've heard different things about the commentating. I heard some people's like it was a very nostalgic view and they loved it. I've heard some people say it seemed second class and they hated it. And then I've heard everything in between. I've heard people like, again, I asked the wife how she felt about it, and she was like, it was good hearing JR on the commentary. And that was her thing. She was like, it was comfortable. That's who was commentating when I watched wrestling last. So that's who's commentating now. It just feels like nothing's changed to that point. And I'm like, you're going to get everybody. I know there's people out there that hate commentators. They do. They have a problem with every commentator they hear.
With me, I don't know. It's because like I used to like back in the day, like I used to like watch New Japan matches like off Daily Motion and just like watch like the illegal or watch them illegally basically, and like I only had the Japanese commentary, or it's because Stardom has no commentary except for or at least not on the streaming site. So like for me, like I can just deal with just silence, just watch the match, just laser focus myself, or just listen to the emotion of the foreign language broadcasters. But like I like Morrow in a big match a lot. Nigel Morrow, I loved him in a big match. Ross, I like Ross still to this day, except for like times when he'll get annoyed by like the way that wrestling has evolved from the 80s and 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like you can hear him at times. He didn't do this on this broadcast, but like previous shows when he's talking about Darby Allin, like, trying to kill himself, like you can kind of hear him kind of say like he doesn't bury him in the way that like other people would, other older announcers would, but he's kind of like, are you sure you should be taking this kind of risk? Like this show was like the most he ever just like laid off any of the stuff that the talent was actually cool. He was more just going with the flow. So it definitely made. I thought this was the best his best performance on any of the AEW broadcasts. I like commentary. Like for me, most commentary is I don't really focus on the stuff they do well most of the time. I mostly like only notice stuff when it's like annoying or it's bad. So I didn't really pick up on anything that was bad from them. So I thought, I guess that means I'll give them a thumbs up. Or I don't know, but I mean, I don't really scour around people to talk about like how bad commentary is. Like,
Yeah.
What were the like the critiques?
Critiques I heard is like JR, just like it sounded second, like I think they said second class, that they didn't have their chemistry down, and I was like, it's funny because when it comes to certain things, you do get a lot of extremes, but I got so many varied answers. I was like, I'm gonna have to watch it because I don't know where to go from.
Yeah, I think you have to go back and watch it and figure out what what you found to be valid. Because like for me, for the most part, I thought it felt like they kind of didn't talk over each other a lot, which is a good thing for commentary. Like especially with the three-person booth, because you'll watch WWE, and WWE almost feels like it's almost like they tell their announcers, like, we have to fill every single moment with sound. Like, we can never let there be a dead sound. Like, we can never let them hear how the crowd sounds or not. Or maybe they're, I don't know. But I thought that they did a job letting like people feel the crowd at times, letting them, they didn't talk with each other, and I felt like they kind of compliment each other. As far as I thought Excalibur was good in his role, like he always is. So I thought it was a good job for the most part.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I love Excalibur. I love JR for a long time. I'm like, JR only pissed me off on the New Japan stuff. I mean, like, seriously, that was the only other. I had never JR's from Oklahoma. He's the guy that never wrestled, but, commentated. He's like everything I wanted to be when I grew up. So JR was like, so when you hear him calling a wrestling match and he literally sounds disinterested and burying the match, that kind of hurt, kind of broke the little guy inside of me that just like, this guy just loves wrestling as much as I do. And it was like, well, do you not love wrestling anymore? It was basically finding out Santa Claus wasn't real for a second.
Oh, man.
It was like, it hurt. It was like, dude, come on, where's JR? So we get to the main event, which, I got some questions. On this main event because we get into it and the Bucks come out, and I didn't get any pictures of the Bucks coming out because I was too busy grabbing the Young Bucks off the ground. And then, Kenny came out with them.
You didn't really pick up that money, fake money.
I picked up fake money because I knew my friends would want it. Like, I had it from the last time, but I knew a lot of my friends are Young Bucks fans. As much as, Young Bucks are part of the elite and I love them, they're not my favorite tag team. They're great, but they're not my favorite tag team. So I picked it up because I knew a lot of my friends would want it. And, a lot of people have been hitting me up like, send me one of these. And I was like, I got you. So I did that. And then Jericho and Jericho came out. Jericho, dude, he's over. He's so. I mean, he's that GOAT level. Like, they were just booing you for beating up Cody, and now everybody's singing along to your song, and just it's fucking nuts. It's like Jericho comes out. It's seriously a rock star is coming out. He's the inverse of Cody. It's like so you can definitely tell that they hate each. That kind of thing. And he comes out, and of course, you talk about the rub. You got LAX or Proud and Powerful. I don't know what they're going to be called, but they were just Santana or Ortiz.
Yeah, I'm going with Ortiz and Santana. I'm not calling them PNP. Like I believe Caleb told me about their name, and I was like,
I was in that conversation. I'm the one that told Caleb, and he said, that's stupid, and I was like, I'm like I've heard worse.
Yeah, I think the joke I made was like, that sounds like the name that sounds like the last name that Vince crossed off before he decided to call Mo and Mabel men on a mission. Like, I'm just not I'm not with it.
Yeah,
PNP.
It's like Tony was like, hey, what do you want to be called? And he's like, Proud and Powerful. Oh, okay, we're gonna call you Santana and Ortiz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that name. That sounds like, as you said, like a 90s WWE tag team name. But they come out and they're looking awesome. And they start the match. And the match is going on like well. And again, this is a new company. This is a new league. So we don't really know the rules. So we got Santana and I believe Santana and Omega start. They wrestle. They're doing all their spots. And at this one point, Kenny's about to do I guess it's called the Rise of the Terminator, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's getting up, and John Moxley just comes in and attacks him. And the referee sees him.
Yeah.
And he looks at him.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's waiting for the DQ to happen. Everybody.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have two things. And this was clearly, this is all done the attempt to get a shot. Like, when those guys both all get sent out of the ring, like, they are towards the side of the ring that is the entrance, right? The wide side, so the side that people want to do dives by, because obviously you don't want to dive into a barricade, especially a non-WWE barricade, where that's just metal railing that's loose, kind of, right? So they're over on that side, and then they pretend, I mean, they zoom in quick before you ever see whatever happens to the bodies, as if like the bodies magically move to the camera side. So he's going to dive towards the camera side, and like they zoom in tight, so you're like, okay, something's about to happen. And then sure enough, you hear the crowd pop, and you're like, okay, somebody's about to enter this thing. And all of a sudden you see Moxley, and you're like, oh, that's what they did. And I'm like, I feel like that's kind of contrived, whatever. It worked it worked for the moment in the crowd, and it got a great shot for TV. So whatever. But they start brawling outside. And you mentioned the thing. I at this point, I'm at a point with AEW where like they're just almost like New Japan, or they just, the refs will let virtually anything slide because they don't want to call a DQ on anything. So whether that's Nyla Rose grabbing a chair, being told that she would be DQ'd in the match, and then like grabbing more chairs and then trying to, flip dive onto Riho, or it's a 6-man ladder or 6-man tag match. One person just got whooped on by a foreign party. We're just going to continue on as a 2-on-3 handicap match. I'm just assuming these refs are just like, that's the story. Now, that's how I'm doing in my own head canon, but they eventually need to say, like, have a sit down with a ref, or it's Aubrey Edwards or whoever else, to say, like, what's the mentality on these refs letting stuff go, and say explicitly, like, we don't want to DQ anything. We want these matches. We want a winner and a loser. So we'll let some stuff go from time to time and that's an easy way to explain it, right?
Yeah.
They have yet to do that. And, some of these matches, like, even before this moment, like, they've been kind of problems for me. Like when they did the Cody versus the Young Bucks match, I was kind of like, at certain points, I was like, why was this allowed to slide? Are they treating us like they're New Japan refs, or are they not? Or is like, what are the rules? I don't know the rules. No one explained the rules. They need to tell us the rules.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, I didn't see like most of until it got to the back and it was up on the big screen or whatever. Oh. So I missed a lot of the few battle, but then I saw him go through the glass, and I'm just like, so what's going to happen? Because my head's going back and forth, and then the match just keeps going as a handicap match. And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense, because all intents and purposes, Jericho could have had Moxley come out there so they could then be in a handicap match.
Right.
And so, okay, the match continues a handicap match. They're going for the big move. The Indie Taker, and they're going for that move, or the best Meltzer ever. Not the best.
I don't know. None of the Young moves are.
Meltzer
like, they
driver.
got so many.
It's called the Meltzer driver. Meltzer driver. Okay, they're going for the Meltzer driver. Jericho hits the code breaker, and then I think he uses affects one of them, and they pin him.
Yes.
And then everybody starts coming out. So Cody comes out to help, and then Sammy comes out to attack Cody. Then Dustin
kicked him in the dick.
Yeah, and he kicked him in the dick. Then Dustin comes out. He kicks Sammy in the dick. And then we get the big debut, You knew there was going to be one. You knew something was going to happen. And when we got the former All-American, Oklahoma's own Jack Hager, or Jake Hager, Jake Hager. He used to be Jack Swagger. Now he's Jake Hager. And from what I was told, they never talked about him being in the WWE. They focused on the undefeated Bellator superstar Jake Hager. Is that what you got?
Yeah. They never mentioned anything about WWE. They only mentioned that he was in Bellator, which is like, okay, cool, because he still is in Bellator.
And he's undefeated, and that's all good.
Yeah, fighting two tomato cans, but yeah.
Hey, you know what? People don't understand, man. As much as putting people over or having job matches in MMA is just as important as having job matches in wrestling. Problem is, sometimes the people lose their job matches.
Is this a CM Punk joke?
Yeah, no. It wasn't, but hey, it fits. Thanks. Yeah, it wasn't. I'm just like, I've seen it happen where it was like they put Brock Lesnar in there with Frank Mir, and they just expected, Frank Mir had lost like 8 matches at the time, so they just thought Brock Lesnar was going to get on him and ground and pound, and then Frank Mir taps him out, and they was like, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, well, they did. Well, I mean, that all came down to training, right? Like, so eventually, like, once he figured out what to look out for, like, that didn't happen in that rematch.
Yes. he just beat him crap out of him. But I'm just saying, sometimes in your job matches, you lose. So, in this case, so you get Hager in there, and he's looking like him, big and athletic. And, of course, he looks special because he's freakishly large compared to everybody else in the company. I think it's him and Luchasaurus, that are that 6'5" to 6'7" range. So, and he definitely looks special in that company. So he goes through and they land everybody out, and that's how it ends. I mean, the beatdown goes on for about 5-10 minutes. Old school, very much felt like that old school NWO end of the show beatdown.
No, okay. I can't go that far because like it wasn't a situation to where the match ended, because normally NWO end of the night, like it's just running like 5 minutes into the main event, and then people are throwing beer and garbage into the ring. So like I can't say I won't go that far, but the fact that it appears to be a new established faction there that I think that's a nice.
It was the whole dragging of the bodies on top of each other that gave me that real NWO feel.
Okay.
Like the 5 guys were stacked on top of each other, and it was like, and Jericho's like sticks his foot on top of them. That just bled Hulk Hogan about I was just waiting for the spray can to come out, and he just banged somebody's back. I thought it was cool. I've always said the one thing that AEW is good in their first 4 shows. When they need that nostalgia thing, they do it. It's not too heavy. It's just enough where if you watch wrestling, you're like, okay, that's what they're doing. And Jack Swagger was Lex Luger, in this case. The Lex Luger at the end of Nitro. And then they gave us another little nostalgia plug with the whole piling up all the faces on the ground and the heels winning. And a lot of shows don't end like that anymore. Even in WWE, somehow the face gets the better, but in this case, it's like the heels just won and then they walked off. And I thought it was a perfect ending to the show. It was a hot ending to the show. I was very satisfied with how it ended.
Yeah, I like the show. If I had to give it a letter grade, I'd probably give it, I don't know, A-. And the minus would probably be like, okay, so you talked about how you are a person that cheers for the baby faces and cheers against the heels, right?
Yeah, especially at shows. At home I do my own thing, but at shows I try to keep up with what they want us to do. Okay.
So for me, like, I am a person that desperately wants baby faces to go over, or not be embarrassed or treated like I want them to be treated like the stars that they're supposed to be to make the show work. Like, they're the protagonists of the show. Like, what the fuck am I watching? What am I tuning in for? This is to follow their journey and their path and whatever obstacles are thrown their way, and if they can or cannot overcome them. Like, So for me on this show, like, were there any, like, I mean, the closest thing we had to a segment kind of ending, I felt like there was too much heat. Long story short, I don't want to get too far into it, but like, I felt like the show had too much heat, especially when like WWE has a problem with too much heat too, and also like I'm not going into the fact that their babyface making factor has completely been broken for years, but like I watched a lot of American wrestling, and like I'm watching NXT and it's great wrestling, but like every single champion is a heel right now. Like I just want some baby face. I just want I just want like a show that's like a little less heat. Not just like, instead of just being like burnt up, you know, third degree, like can it just be 1 degree of heat, or can it be 2 degrees of heat? And like I know that this is meant to for the first episode, this is meant to build, and the heat is meant to add for a payoff. And AEW pretty much is pretty much, they should have the benefit of the doubt because they should have the goodwill from, they put on these shows and they deliver what they advertise and promise. But at the back of my mind, I'm still like, this is an American wrestling promotion. When am I going to get screwed over and not get what I, you know, or get most of what I, you know, invested into this? And like, when I watched the first show and it had so much heat, I'm thinking like, okay, there better damn well be some payoffs eventually, right? So that's kind of, that kind of has my guard up a little bit, because I'm you know, I've been treated so poorly elsewhere.
Yeah, I can definitely understand. Like I said, it was really I think they wanted to establish that this show, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but was not about a vanity project for the Elite. And if you look at it, Cody won, then got his ass kicked. Mm-hmm. Hangman flat out lost. The Bucks and Kenny lost. You know, Kenny gets his ass kicked. So, okay, this is not an Elite vanity project. So they might have went a little too strong with that, but they wanted it known that wasn't just going to be a Elite vanity project.
Yeah.
And that's what this first show seemed to be about. And I thought that was pretty good. And again, you look at things in a way I didn't even see it. I didn't even think of all the heat in this show. And I'm like, yeah, there was all overabundance of heat in this show.
Well, I didn't really feel it until I noticed that, I was like, once the Riho beatdown happened with Nyla and then Kenny had to make a save, I was like, wait, why would is this building towards a match with an intergender match? No, it's not. Okay, or probably not. So what was the point of doing it to your first inaugural women's champion? And then the Elite got their ass kicked in, and I was like, okay. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait a second. Like almost every single, like, was there a single like baby face that was able to succeed and then walk away in the whole show? And it's like, no, all right, well, like, all right, that's noted. And you know, hopefully they'll. And I'm gonna keep track of, or not keep track, but like I'm definitely keep that in the back of my mind in the future going forward. And because I mean, they've had great moments, right? So I'm not as far as baby faces, whatever. So I'm not really that. I'm not really that. It's just that that night is like the first night and like immediately all heat. And I was like, all the other shows that I have to watch have all heat too. So it's like, okay, so that's kind of the same. That's all.
Yeah. So Cody. So that was the end of the show. There were some dark matches. I was going to talk about the dark matches. That was my original goal, but I found out we're going to get them for free, so I don't want to spoil them. So
okay,
yeah. So I'll let everybody. Tony came out. He's like, yes, there will be a way to see these dark matches for free eventually. So there's no point in me spoiling them because you'll get to see them. I can just tell you, Darby Allin and Shima performed. Then SCU wrestled Jurassic Express, which was a cool match. We got B Priestley. She came in the country, and she was with she was with Penelope Ford. They wrestled Britt Baker and Allie, and then there was a 4-way 8-man tag, and it was the Lucha Bros with Jack Evans and Angelico versus Private Party and I cannot remember for the life of me.
Was it Best Friends?
Yes, best friends because they did
Okay.
they did the hug. So those were the people in the dark matches. But you can see who won. You know, AEW will be putting that stuff out there eventually. But yeah, that was
there. Quick question: was there any? Did Tony mention anything about like the matches, the dark matches being aired later? Like, will they actually be official record or are those just exhibitions?
they will be aired later and they will count.
Okay.
So so I thought that was pretty cool. And what was that? What was I thinking of? Oh yeah, I'm actually mad that they're gonna air because if I'm on TV at any point doing the dark matches, you're gonna see a dude about to sleep. I was that 2 hours was emotionally enough for me. I was done. I was done. I was watching him and I watched him and I can tell you what happened in each match. But it was very much with a glazed over look on my face. I took a caffeine pill and a Red Bull like right before the show, and it wore off. I was done. I'm just gonna be honest. I left Oklahoma City on Wednesday morning at 11. Got into Washington D.C. at 3:30. Met up with some people. Got something to eat. At Shake Shack, which I had never eaten at, and that was pretty cool. And then we went to the show. So you know what you didn't hear in there? Sleep. so I was starting to yawn outside of the building, and that's when I was like, okay. I had the caffeine pills in my wallet, and it was my in case of emergency. So because I didn't want to sleep through the first ever show, and I took it because the emergency was coming. So we did get the ratings. It's pretty much the last thing we were going to talk about. The ratings came out. AEW, 1.4 million. NXT, 891,000.
Yep.
So, not totally unexpected. AEW wins. Google Trends, everyone had said. And then the preview show got 600,000, so everyone said it was going to do over 1 million. They thought, that was the safe estimate. Dave Meltzer said it was going to be 1.4, 1.5, so he was actually very right for all the people that hate Dave Meltzer and says he's never right about anything. There you go. And then with Canada, and I think it was on the replay in Canada, I think it got up to 1.9. I did not hear the...
Really?
Yeah. I didn't hear the numbers from NXT. So it looks like almost 2 million people watched it. Based on this episode, do you think they're going to be able to hold on to, I'm going to set the number at 80%. You think they're going to be able to hang on to 80% of this audience?
Hold on. Let me just... I will say, because that's like 1.1 million.
Because I was like, I am of the opinion. I hope the number grows, but honestly, most of the time the number drops.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, I think it dropped 11% for NXT from week 1 to week 2, right? Like it had like 1.1 and dropped to like 900 something, right?
Yes.
I would probably, okay, so that's case, and yeah, I'll probably say it'll have that level of drop.
Okay.
Now, the first NXT show was not as good as this show, and also it has the benefit of looking more major league because it's a lot more well lit, and it's in front of a larger audience, or a larger crowd arena,
and it was only on one channel. That was another thing.
That too, yeah, and I get fucked around with. So I would say yeah. That's now thinking about it, yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be over 80. If before I thought about it, I thought like probably it'll settle around 1 million, but like 1.4, like I'm still, still some.
I did my unofficial poll thing where I just asked people I know that don't watch wrestling regularly that, because of advertising and stuff, watch this one. Would they watch again next week? And I think I literally only had one person that said yeah, it was cool, but I don't think I'm going to commit to watching 2 hours every week, kind of thing. No one said it sucked. It was just like it was good. It's basically wrestling's not their thing. They watched it because it was the new stuff. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So hopefully they hold on to it. Hopefully they bring in some new people. If you're listening to the show and you haven't watched it, of course, you've been spoiled completely. But you can go to tntdrama.com, and they are allowing you to stream it for free with no sign-in. So you don't even need a cable provider. You can just go to TNT's site and stream it. I actually put it out on the AT Elite Pod Twitter account, and I put up some pictures on there if anyone wants to go look at those. But I was so initial reaction to AEW winning or having more ratings to this week.
I mean, I thought that was going to be the case. I thought they were going to be higher, just because of. I mean, there is a gigantic groundswell, and it's totally earned of people. There being a lot of people that were wrestling fans or had an interest in wrestling, but have been grown out of it or stepped away from it because of the sports entertainment stuff, right? So even if it's NXT, which is very much pro wrestling and not the sports entertainment type, even though they still do wacky stuff from time to time, it is still owned and operated by WWE. So I thought there's so much of a groundswell of people. I mean, AEW exists for the most part because there are people that are sick of Vince's shit, right? I mean, I cut the shit out,
the reason I exist. That's the reason I exist. I mean, seriously, right. 2015, you could have asked me about an Okada or an Omega. I wouldn't have known who you were talking about. I was completely into WWE's web.
Yeah, like, honestly, with Daniel Bryan, at that point in time, like with Daniel Bryan being gone, and then it looked like, suffering succotash, and we had no idea Daniel Bryan was coming right back. For me, like seeing Wrestle Kingdom is like that opened my eyes to what wrestling is outside, and at that still point, I still wasn't invested in going to watch it. It's more like, wow, like that is one of the best wrestling matches I've ever seen. Both or the last two matches, that's awesome. What a great show. Wrestling doesn't have to be as difficult as WWE makes it out to be, but like I was still like, not as I wasn't as far. I wasn't as jaded of a WWE fan as I am now. Like it's grown even since 2014. So, like I still think WWE has value. I think you have, if you told me like I root for the show to be good all the time because like they have more wrestlers I want to watch than any other promotion in the world. It just doesn't really cut it. So, and I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. So it's like, this was definitely something they're interested in because they want to see these people that are busting their ass, killing themselves, shortening their lives to entertain us, like be showcased and spotlighted in ways that aren't ridiculous or make value of whatever they're putting out on for us to watch, whether it's their angles or the presentation of their characters. So. And WWE doesn't really do that much because like they're so scatterbrained and there's so much stuff going on. They have way too much content, even focusing and make it coherent and have it be cohesive from one week to the next. That it's like people want an alternative. They want to be rewarded for the time they invest in stuff. And AEW has done that very well since its first show, Double or Nothing, to now to this day. So I think I honestly thought that like if this Wednesday Night War thing pops off, I believe like, or I hope that ultimately what happens is they both do 1 million plus them both together, for a long time, right? For years. Mm-hmm. They grow their audience and they're going to be the ones that have the younger audience, which apparently they do, right? And then eventually, as these boomers start kicking the can, or Vince moves out of place, like eventually WWE has or the main roster has no choice but to start using some of these principles that were the reason why people even watch wrestling to begin with when they grew up, or whatever. Like people want to watch good storytelling that goes from week to week, month to month, or whatever else. And they also want like roster positioning, and they want wins and losses to matter. It's not that hard. Right. Like, I mean, no, like doing it is hard, but like the principles of the foundation or whatever else is like there's been a blueprint. People have followed this shit for years. Like it's basic storytelling. If everything matters, then you can be able to do certain things to try to manipulate people's emotions, right? Like and then people start overthinking it, and that's how you end up with, you know, certain things. And like it's difficult to try to keep track of all the stuff you do. That's hard. But like the foundation isn't. Like it's been written in stone for a decade, or sorry, for decades.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Wrestling was very simple when we were young. Guy wanted the title, so he went after it. You know, guy wanted the guy's wife, so he went after her. You know what I mean? It was very simple. It was like it was soap opera-ish at times, and it was a lot of bullshit, but it was simple, and it's just like they try to make it overly complicated, and that's a problem.
Like we just saw Becky Lynch and The Rock together, and a year ago, or let's say a little before a year ago, Becky Lynch, she started beating people in the middle of the ring with her move for like, it went on a win streak.
Yeah.
And then they decided they wanted to turn her heel when it was time for her to get a title shot because her friend came back from an injury and basically like beat her, and they wanted her to turn heel for losing. And the crowd said, no, fuck your story. Fuck this nonsensical story. Becky was out here beating people clean. We've always liked Becky. You basically move her out the way for somebody that wasn't as talented as her. And she's been toiling away for forever. And she finally got herself going again by beating people in the middle of the ring with her move. And we've always liked her. And then now you want to turn her heel? No, screw that. Screw your storyline. Stick it up your ass. Road Dogg, Vince McMahon. And eventually they had to change it around. And now they've realized, oh yeah, like we kind of lucked into this thing because of like, and that's the kind of way how you get over big in WWE now is like, you piss off the fans with whatever story they messed up, and like we have to kind of course correct them into making sense. Like so, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like I can't believe they did this to Becky Lynch. I can't believe they just did this to Daniel Bryan. I can't believe they just did this to Roman Reigns. I can't believe they just did this to fill in the blank. Everybody they mess up. So it's like. And I'm not as I look on Twitter and see some of these comments, and like people like really, really are fed up and are their wits end or quit. And you see that 1.4, and it's like when people say all this shit about, you know, if you don't like it, don't watch. All right, that 1.4, a lot of those motherfuckers stopped watching and decided to pick up this because the other shows were so bad that they're like, I want to watch wrestling. I'm done. I'm going to watch this other wrestling. And now they have a gigantic part of the market share of fans that Vince or people said like don't even exist, and now like they're here now, and they're probably gonna be around for a while, and like so this is gonna be interesting to see like next, you know, weeks, months, and maybe even years, and hopefully decades of like there being 4 big wrestling shows weekly, on cable or just a big TV, cable.
You have to think about this that you know. You look at the Major League ratings, they weren't down. So these weren't, you know, they didn't take away from Major League Baseball. These are people that would rather do nothing than, you know, watch wrestling some of these nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they's like, oh, well, you gave us something to watch. Now we're coming back. And that makes me happy. And that's why I was like, you know, when, you know, they have the hashtag I'm with AEW, and, you know, that's in my profile name or whatever. But the reason I'm with AEW is because if AEW is great, it will make WWE better because I'm with professional wrestling. I just like watching wrestling. I'm a freaking nerd that just likes watching professional wrestling. I want it all to be good. You know, I don't
like nobody's watching WWE or used to watch WWE and was like, yeah, you know, like I watched it, just hate to watch it. Like I didn't want to actually be good. Like, no, get the hell out of here with that nonsense.
Yes, I want to love it, and I want to love WWE, and I want to love NXT, and I want to love it all. But it's just what I've learned over my history is that WWE doesn't really try until they feel like they got someone on their heels. And that's what I'm hoping AEW can be. So, because I remember there was this little period when Impact came to Monday nights. WWE's like, oh, we're about to squash this bug. And they put on some great programming. And then it was like, oh, okay, Impact's dead. And WWE went back to the same stuff that they were doing. And it's just like, I lived it. I lived it. So I'm telling you, they do better when they feel like there's a threat. And hey, that's what I want. And so AEW, be a threat. That's what I'm rooting for, because I know you're going to be good, because I understand how you're going to storytell, and just want WWE to, up their game to whatever it has to be. But like I said, I am for wrestling. I am very clear on that. I'm very happy about the 1.4 million. And if you are one of the 1.4 million listening to the show, stay vigilant. That's the important thing.
Stay vigilant.
Yeah, stay vigilant. The same thing you were doing these last 3 months, telling your friends to watch and getting on your friends and saying, hey, you can use my cable login or whatever the hell you have to do. Do that shit again. Okay? Do that shit again.
I don't know why that shit was so funny to me. Stay vigilant. Like,
yeah, no, you got that 1.4, and it's like, oh, we beat WWE. I'm gonna go to game night at my bar. No, motherfucker, go back in front of the TV. Get your ass back in front of the TV. Okay.
I'm sorry. I wasn't ready for that. What you doing on Wednesday? What you doing on Wednesday? Like, that's that TV screen.
Get back in front of there, Yeah. So like, hey, you got to be out there, man. Like, hey, it's one of those days. It's like you got to tell your friends to watch this. And AEW proving that there are no days off for their company. Today they were at the New York Comic-Con. And Cody attacked Jericho during one of their press conference scrums. It wasn't a press conference. It was like one of the Q&As, and all the wrestlers up. And Cody attacked Jericho to continue their storyline, and I love it. I love it because it happened in New York Comic-Con, and there was a lot of people there dressed up in Star Wars and Star Trek stuff, and they didn't know what the hell this guy was fighting this other guy for, but I need to know why. And someone told them about AEW, and hopefully they go on Wednesday nights or log on and see what it's about. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I saw parts of the video where like Jungle Boy is like in between trying to keep the peace,
and
like,
he has this.
He's totally useless. Totally useless.
Okay, there's this part in the video where Jericho literally pulls him down and tells him to hold him back.
Yes, he's totally useless. And then he's like, his back is totally turned to Jericho as like Cody goes right by him, and I think he like double legs Jericho. So like, thanks.
You got to think, like, and this is my stretch to make it a gimmick. Jungle Boy doesn't know our ways, so he didn't know what he was supposed to do in that situation.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, kayfabe stretch. Kayfabe
stretch. He's able to like dress himself inside of a shirt, but he does not understand the concept of a pull apart, though, right?
Yes, no, not at all. Because apparently he didn't. Because literally, it's this part where Jericho's supposed to be being held back from Cody, and there's no one holding him back. So he literally drags Jungle Boy and tells him to start holding him back. I was like, man, that's veteran shit. I had to clap for Jericho because at least he didn't do the invisible hold back thing. He actually made somebody hold him back.
Yeah, you're right. That is much better than the Frankie Kazarian from Wednesday, yes.
Yep, Air is holding me back right now. I am a mime. No, but yeah, that's it for the show. Follow us at AT Elite Pod. James, what's your information so everybody can listen to your show and everything?
Okay, yes. Also on this same podcast network, we have One Nation Radio that airs on Sundays, and sometimes occasionally we have a midweek episode. Typically it's during a go-home show for WWE pay-per-view. This week with all that was Wednesday, we just left that alone. It was way too much stuff to go through. But anyway, you can find me on Twitter at JamesBoyd87. You can find my co-host Rich Latta also on Twitter at RichLatta32. We also have the at One Nation Radio spot where we also have the podcast. You can go and check throughout, and also Suplex as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, check out my Twitter. My Twitter is mostly just me retweeting people saying funny stuff.
All right. Well, definitely, Tiffany couldn't be on the show this week. She apologizes. We're going to get her on as soon as possible. But if you want to hear her review of the show, go to Heart of the Elite on YouTube. It's called Heart of the Elite with Tiffany. She has about a 23-minute review of her night in the show. Guarantee it's going to be positive because I don't think negative things come out of Tiffany's mouth. I don't even know if that's possible. So definitely check her out on YouTube. Also, our other host, Amy Euler, make sure she's at Phoenix NJPW. So make sure you're following her, and don't follow me, just follow the show site, because I actually tweet more from the show site than I do from my own account. So that's at AT Elite Pod. I got it down. I always get stumbled up on it because someone stole all Elite Pod before I could get to it. I mean, all things Elite before I can get to it. But it's AT Elite Pod. Definitely go there. This show will be out sometime Saturday. And again, James, you were last minute. I appreciate you for jumping on with me and laughing, making me laugh and everything. It was great. So I will remind you all to make sure you keep supporting AEW Pro Wrestling Tees. They put out a lot of new stuff this week. And as I end every show, whether it's home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.